Let's make it do what it do, what it do. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. This is the day that the Lord has made. I'm already rejoicing. I know my squad is rejoicing. We're glad in it. Today is Wednesday, July the 24th, 2024. We are live right here in the beautiful Buckhead community of Atlanta. You, my friend, if you're coming on, joining us live, are watching the Ramon Preston Show. When I'm not out in these Atlanta streets looking at properties, going to appointments, or when I'm not sitting with a client, I do my best to show up here every Monday through Friday, 12 o'clock noon Eastern Standard Time, to share information with you about your business, about your finances, about real estate investing, about wealth building, about all the things that we do here at Ramon Preston Enterprises on a day-to-day basis, whether we're serving clients, students, or we're serving our community. I like to share information with you that can help you along the way. So again, good afternoon. Welcome to the Ramon Preston Show. If this is your first time joining us live, my name is Ramon Preston. I am the host of the Ramon Preston Show, and I'm super excited today to talk to you about the benefits of a holding company, or what some modern-minded people may call a holding co. A holding company. If you're not familiar with a holding company, you have not been around me long enough. If you stick around long enough, you're going to be familiar with a holding company. It's one of the main business concepts and principles that I talk about. It's one of the main business principles and concepts that I teach students, I work with clients on, because I believe, even as a solopreneur and small business owner, I believe that using a holding company, it gives you a lot of benefits that you typically need if you want to scale your business to 6-7 figures and beyond. It's just my opinion, but I have a lot of experience. I have a lot of statistics and data to back up my opinion. So again, today we're going to be talking about the benefits of a holding co. All right. And I'm going to highlight these benefits under a few subtitles. The first one is going to be infrastructure benefits. The second one, and I'll circle this, infrastructure benefits. The second one is going to be about asset benefits, and then revenue benefits. Of course, I have a lot of other information about holding companies. Matter of fact, I don't even have to encourage you to go to RamonPrestonUniversity.com and look at the Millionaire Blueprint, which is our educational program. I don't even have to give you a shameless plug for that. If you just go to my YouTube page at Ramon Preston, and if you look inside of the playlist for holding companies, you're going to have weeks of information and videos that you can learn and watch to get all you want to get about holding companies. But again, at some point, you're probably going to need a business consultant. You're probably going to need an attorney, a CPA, or somebody who specializes in building these type of structures and complex entities out if you want to do it the right way. What I always say to people who come to me about holding companies is this: it's okay for you to go to the online platforms that set up your LLCs. It's okay for you to go to the Secretary of State and set your own LLC up. It's okay for you to go to a tax person or an attorney who sets up structures. But it's not okay for you to do those things and not be proactive in educating yourself on how you're going to use these structures, whether you put them together or someone else puts them together. So that's why when people come to me and they ask me and my company to structure the entity, to set up their LLCs and their holding companies and their subsidiaries, most of the times I don't mind doing it, but I encourage them most of the time to at least take the course on the holding company so that you can familiarize yourself with how are you going to manage the day-to-day operations of an entity structure that has 3 or 4 different LLCs. I want you to understand the nuances, the logistics, the responsibilities that come with it. If you don't do that, here's what's going to happen. And I've seen it happen tons of times. Here's what's going to happen. You're going to go to an online service provider. You're going to pay for 3 or 4 LLCs, or you're going to go to a quote unquote consultant who may not be an educator or trainer, and they're going to charge you to set up LLC number 1, number 2, number 3, number 4, or whatever they do. And then what happens is you're going to be left with a stack of folders and papers and EIN numbers and articles of organization and operating agreements, and you ain't going to know what to do. You're not going to know anything about the systems and processes that you need to organize these structures. You're not going to know how many QuickBooks accounts you need and how you should run your accounting. It's going to be a nightmare. And I've seen it so many times. I just got an email from someone. Last night, I think the email came in. And inside the email, I can't read it because I'm live on Instagram, but inside the email, somebody was asking me about what should they do with their entity structure, or how should they restructure it. And they had probably 3 or 4 different LLCs with another 3 or 4 ideas for LLCs. And they're all scattered because they do not understand the concept. So if I helped that person, I wouldn't have done it that way. Anyway, hopefully what I'm saying makes sense to you. Let's talk about the benefits of the holding co. The benefits of the holding co. So let's look at some of the infrastructure benefits. So when I say infrastructure, what am I talking about? I'm talking about putting it together. What are some of the benefits of putting this type of entity structure together? Well, number one, you have a parent company. This is a parent co. You have a parent company. So you automatically put yourself in a position that if you have products and services that you want to sell and provide to the marketplace, and you want to package those products and services inside of operating businesses, having a holding company gives you the ability to have a parent company above those companies that you can put under the parent company. So now, if I want to start an apparel business, I want to sell T-shirts, I want to sell hats and hoodies, or I want to provide a service. No matter what the service is, I want to provide. You're either selling products or providing a service. Your business is based on one of the two, if not both. Okay. So if I want that to be a business, then I can start Apparel Company LLC. I can start Service Provider LLC, but I'm going to place those companies under my parent company. So even though I still have to sell the hoodie, even though I still have to provide the service, at least my infrastructure is set up that gives me the ability to stand at the top of my ecosystem and start doing other things and focusing on the future. Okay. Another benefit under the infrastructure is your operational centralization. I just kind of alluded to that. Operational centralization. So let me see if I can kind of get me a little space here to use to give you a visual of what I mean when I say operational centralization. So if this is you, let's just assume this is you, and let's just assume this is your parent co, right? This is the holding company. And then let's assume you have other entities under it. There needs to be operational centralization so that all roads lead to the holding co. There needs to be some centralized operation where your systems, financial systems, administrative systems, sales systems, marketing system, executive systems, they're all operating independently in each entity, but they're a part of an operational centralization that moves up to the main parent company. So you're able to do that, as opposed to if you have all these separate entities that you stand on top of. They are not as centralized with this type of structure as it would be, let's say, with the same 3 entities. If this is you and you're on top of 3 entities, let's say if you had the holding co, it's still 3 entities. So these are 2 different pictures. One entity that owns 2, or you owning 3. This is more centralized than that one, just to give you an example, even though I can't really draw. So it's very important to understand that benefit. What's another benefit of the holding co? Brand building. Because if I have a holding company, I can have a brand that I build, and everything under that brand will be a part of the family of brands that I create, if that makes sense. So for example, my holding co is Ramon Preston Enterprises. Of course, it has my name. I'm the brand ambassador, but I created that holding company because I wanted the name Ramon Preston to become a brand, not just for personal reasons, but for the corporate infrastructure. I want to have a consistent brand. And now everything under Ramon Preston Enterprises is a part of the Ramon Preston brand. It's like JP Morgan, okay? That's the parent. And they may have other subsidiaries or divisions under there, but they're all a part of it. Bank of America, Truist, Berkshire Hathaway, Amazon, they're all still a part of that brand, even if there are other names. Like most people in the business world know that Warren Buffett stands at the top of Berkshire Hathaway, right? Most people know that. Most people know that under Berkshire Hathaway are all these divisions or subsidiaries. One of those subsidiaries is Geico. They own it. So it's a separate company. It's a separate name, but it's still under the banner of that brand. So it gets the lift because of who it's owned by and the parent company that runs it or that oversees it. So you get brand building. Another infrastructure benefit of a holding company is that you become the subject matter expert. So now when I stand at the top of the mountain of my holding company, whatever the operating companies are doing, I can become the subject matter expert of that. So for example, if I have a holding company, my holding company owns an apparel company. My apparel company is just selling hoodies. It's just selling shirts and socks or shirts, whatever it's selling. It's an apparel company, or it's a hair extension company, or it's a nail tech company. It doesn't matter what the product or service is. I stand on top of the holding company. My holding company owns that other company that's out there selling a product or providing a service. Well, I can essentially be the subject matter expert in the space of that operating company. And through my holding company, I can actually create new revenue just by the intellectual property of what I know about that operating company. I'm telling you, if you listen to me and you start moving in on some of this stuff, it's going to change the way you operate as a small business owner. I'm not saying you're going to always knock it out the park. I'm not saying it's going to always work for you. But what I am saying is, if you just keep doing what you've been doing, you're going to keep getting what you've been getting. And if what you've been getting is not what you want, then you got to pivot. You got to change these types of things as you enter into the marketplace. What's another benefit? Another benefit of the holding co, and you probably won't understand this, so I got to explain it. I got 4 in, on, above. What I mean is, when you have a holding company, you're not going to be stuck working for your operating business. So again, this is you. Okay, this is your holding company. And these are all the subsidiaries that represent certain businesses that you have that sell products and provide services. Well, because you stand here, even though you still have to come down here to sell the product, to provide the service, to be in the marketplace, making deals, you still have to do it, especially as a solopreneur, but mentally, you can prepare yourself to exit working for that business, working in that business, working on that business. You can prepare to work above those businesses because you've already positioned yourself. So it's easy to prepare to go back full time to what you've already in the structure positioned yourself for. So those are the infrastructure benefits of a holding co. If you're watching me live and what you're hearing, if it's making sense, please be sure to leave a comment. Let me know what you think about what I'm saying. And if you don't have a holding company, but you're thinking about starting a holding company, or you have existing LLCs and you would like to restructure your organization to have a holding company and transfer the existing entities under a holding company, let me know. Reach out to me, and I'll be more than happy to give you some direction, answer any questions that you may have. But I want you to put in the comments what you think about the infrastructure benefits of a holding company. I would love to know what your take is and what you're getting out of us having this conversation today. Also, don't forget, if you're watching me on social media platforms, please be sure to subscribe to my YouTube page. Okay, I think we have over 12,000 subscribers. We would love for you to subscribe to our YouTube page. Click the notification bell so that you get notifications when we upload new content. And follow me on Instagram, on IG. Please follow me. Facebook, X, LinkedIn. You can find me at all of the platforms at Ramon Preston. I'm on all of the platforms at Ramon Preston. Okay, so we just covered the infrastructure benefits of a holding company. Let's look at the asset benefits of a holding company. How does this benefit you from an asset perspective? Well, you get asset protection. Automatically, you're getting asset protection because you're able to separate certain assets that need to be separated, but they're not detached from one another to the point that there's no centralization. So you do still have centralization. Like, for example, right here, if this is your holding company, and let's say this is another LLC, and this is another one, and that is another one, and they all represent something different. One may be a product-based LLC, one may be a service-based LLC, another one may be a real estate LLC or an investment LLC. It could be 3 different ones or 30 different ones. So they're all separate, and each one may do something different, but you're able to start protecting each asset in a strategic way so that in the event anything happens to one, it's only limited to, the liability is only limited to that LLC, not to the other 3 or 4 or 5 or 50 LLCs that you have. So there's an asset protection, right? Another benefit is asset accumulation. Now I could start accumulating assets and positioning them at different places inside of my ecosystem because my holding company is the parent, and now I have a whole ecosystem. So that's very, very important when it comes to your assets. One of the things that you have to do when you set up an infrastructure like this is you have to be intentional about accumulating assets because you want to increase your net worth. You want to increase your enterprise value. And I personally know for sure, because I do it and I work with a lot of people who have done the exact same thing. It changes how you approach business just by having this type of structure. It changes how you have different conversations. I know people today who have followed my advice on setting up this type of structure. And because they set this type of structure up, they're thinking like asset managers, even when they don't really have assets to manage. but at least they're thinking like asset managers because they have put themselves in that position. So asset protection is one benefit. Asset accumulation is another benefit. You know, I talk a lot about asset accumulation and acquisitions because they're different. I look at asset accumulation as a strategy for what you're doing with the assets you already possess and control personally. It could be a house, it could be a retirement account, it could be a bank account, a money market account, it could be stocks and bonds, cryptocurrency, assets that you already have personally. Accumulating them is a strategy that I talk about regarding you taking them and putting them inside of your holding company. So instead of you owning the stock personally, instead of you owning the real estate personally, instead of you owning having the personal retirement account, you self-direct it and you transfer that LLC under the holding company. Those are the type of strategic moves you can make to accumulate assets under your holding company. The acquisitions is really a strategy that's external, where now I'm looking for another business to buy. Or there's a business that I'm not going to buy, but there are certain assets in the business that I want to buy. Okay? This is so critical. This is so critical. I just had an appointment yesterday, and the appointment was regarding the potential acquisition of a business. And when I'm going through each aspect of the business, I'm looking at what are the assets. One of the assets that I identified was the database. It's a database that the business has. That database is full of names and numbers and email addresses and physical addresses and other valuable information that can help me identify with potential business. And I know for sure any database that you get your hands on through an acquisition, there's money in that database, because most people don't market the way they should market to any database. And most people don't have a professional sales process of giving a real demo, of asking hard questions, of follow-up to really upsell from whatever they initially sold. So I'm just showing you how acquiring assets is a benefit to a holding company. Another asset benefit is leverage. How is leverage an asset benefit to your holding company? Well, again, and everything that I talk about, I have either worked with the client who did it, or I have done it. One of the two. It's one of the two. I don't just talk about hypothetical stuff. I'm just not that kind of person. I'm not saying there's nothing wrong for some people, because you have like professors who talk about business and they never owned a business. Okay? You have real estate agents who talk about homes and they may have never bought an investment property. So I understand. I'm just the kind of person that if I'm going to talk about something and lean heavily in it, I want to have a little hands-on experience to know how it actually played out, so I could be confident in what I say. So back to my point, leverage. An example, I have had clients who had personal retirement accounts who set up a self-directed IRA with a custodian and converted that inside of an LLC under their holding company. So I got proof. I got verifiable proof on that, okay? Again, there may be assets that you personally hold, like a piece of property, a piece of real estate that has value, that you want to transfer the ownership inside of an LLC and put under your holding company so that your holding company can have purchasing power. Well, guess what? That's a benefit to your holding company. So we have infrastructure benefits, we have asset benefits, and then there's some revenue benefits. What are some revenue benefits? Well, one revenue benefit is allocation. Allocation is really it's a bougie way of saying that if I have an entity structure, and maybe it needs to be reallocation. But let's just say I'm gonna give you another example real quick. Okay, where you at, baby? There you go. Let me give you another example real quick of allocation. So, for example, I have my holding co right here. This is my holding co. And then I have LLC number 2, so this is LLC number 1, parent company. This is number 2, number 3, number 4. So number 4 is generating a lot of revenue. And once number 4 pays its expenses, the free revenue goes up to holding co, and holding co allocates that for an investment in number 2, or maybe a new investment in LLC number 5. Now, you need tax strategists, you need CPAs and lawyers. You need to have the right people working with you. You don't need to just be listening to somebody like me on the internet, because I'm telling you this stuff, but when I make these kind of moves, I just got off a conference call with one of my lawyers. So I'm always talking to lawyers and tax strategists and CPAs, because it gives me confidence to talk about this stuff. It gives me the courage to make certain moves, because I know legally and financially I'm doing things the correct way. I still have to know about the thing that I'm doing. I still need to understand it. I need to know enough to be dangerous, but I don't want to be goofy with it. So all I'm saying to you is, this is an example of allocation. Now, that allocation could be a non-taxable event. It could be a taxable event that you can lower it because you have taken on new expenses. But again, you need to work with your CPA and your tax strategist or attorney on that. I'm just showing you that allocation is a revenue benefit for your holding company. Deployment. Well, what is deployment? Deployment is, I'm just deploying capital into a new business venture, into a new investment. And a lot of this, remember, the allocation or reallocation and deployment with your revenue inside of your holding company, most of this is pre-tax. So that's a big benefit. It's pre-tax. So that means you have not been taxed on this yet, but it may be a non-taxable event that you're participating in. Or it may be taxable, but there's a way that your attorney or your tax person can work that out. Revenue preservation. You're preserving revenue. How are you preserving it? Because you're able to cross-pollinate inside of your ecosystem. So once you get into like the acquisition side, you can start participating in these vertical integrations, and you are essentially preserving revenue or capital. You're preserving it because you're just you're redistributing it, reallocating it, and it's almost like you're recycling it, and you're essentially preserving money because now you're creating your own ecosystem. That's very important if you want to build wealth. It's very important if you want to get to a certain place, because a lot of people do that today. Even if they're not using like 3 or 4 different entity structures, a lot of people who are building wealth, they're doing what I'm saying you should do. And you should do it on a small level. I mean, literally, you could be a W-2 employee getting paid every 2 weeks and set this type of structure up and start the process even at a couple $1,000s a month level. You can minimize your taxes. I didn't even talk about the minimization of taxes. I just talked about increasing revenue. But how can you increase revenue? Well, minimizing your taxes, whether it's your W-2 taxes, your 1099 taxes, or your business taxes. Minimizing taxes, depending on how you do it, it essentially increases your revenue, because now you have more pre-tax money to play with to build your business. Like, I know I'm kind of getting in the weeds with some of this stuff I'm talking about, but I just want you to know I'm just putting this back up here. Infrastructure, this is 1, asset 2, revenue 3. These are just some of the big titles to help you identify with what the benefits of a holding company are. So hopefully today's show was a lesson for you on the holding co. For sure. So please leave a comment. Let me know what your biggest takeaway was from today's show. If you have any questions or if you need more information, don't hesitate to reach out to me. Our contact information and the link to our free resources, it's all inside of the description of today's show video. If you're watching from IG, you will have to go to our bio, click the Linktree link, and there you will find our contact information and all the free resources we have available. So I appreciate you all. Thank you for joining the show today. Again, like, share, tag, follow, subscribe, leave a comment. Let me know what you thought about today's show. And I look forward to seeing you tomorrow. Same place, same time, right here on the Ramon Preston Show. Peace. Have an amazing rest of your Wednesday.